is said that Jiu-Jitsu has its origin in India and went through China before arriving in Japan. No one knows that for sure, but what we do know is that this is where the martial art developed and gained strategic importance to the empire. In feudal Japan, it was considered a crime to teach its techniques to foreigners, a crime punished by death. A while later, when the gunpowder emerged alongside other ways to exterminate the enemy without engaging in physical combat, Jiu-Jitsu lost its need to remain secretive. At the end of the last century, the best students of Master Jigoro Kano decided to leave Japan to propagate what only they knew: that Jiu-Jitsu is the most efficient martial art in a real combat situation. One of his best pupils was Count Maeda Koma, who traveled the world making performances and proving the martial art superiority in many countries. He was practically invincible. He challenged everyone in his path and always won. Count Koma learned how to use the opponent's strength to his benefit. No one could beat him due to his ground techniques. In 1914, he went to Brazil, to Belém do Pará. There, he met Gastão Gracie, who helped the Count set down. As a grateful gesture, Count Koma offered to teach Gracie's eldest son, Carlos, who later on taught his three younger brothers, Osvaldo, George, and the youngest, Elio Gracie. No one knew that yet, but the Gracie family would take jiu-jitsu to another level, and that happened in Rio de Janeiro. Just like Count Koma, Elio Gracie fought hundreds of combats in Brazil and challenged whoever was willing to try to beat the technique he had learned and improved. Many fights took place, but in a pre-internet age, jiu-jitsu was still a secret to the rest of the world. Now, not only Japanese, but also Brazilian. It was Rorion, Elio's oldest son, who realized that to prove that jiu-jitsu was indeed the most efficient fighting technique, he would have to move to the United States. And that's where the martial art world changed forever. That happened on November 12, 1993.
It's hard not to be excited for Royce here.
It's great.
This is a big moment for him.
I think Royce is actually the least excited. He doesn't seem to be smiling at all.
I'm sure there was a lot on his mind the last couple days.
Fighting championship and $50,000 from Rio de Janeiro at 158 in the first round. Royce Gracie.
Royce, you just heard it right now. You are the first ever and the ultimate fighting champion. What's going through your mind right now?
Dia 12 de novembro foi outro dia de treino, outro dia de trabalho. Eu sei que foi o dia que mudou tudo, mas tudo já tinha mudado quando meu pai começou. Eu fui só um veículo para mostrar a arte que ele criou.
Eu sempre soube, viu? Quando eu vim pra cá, eu sabia que eu ia mudar o mundo. Eu sabia que o jiu-jitsu ia sacudir a macieira, não tinha a menor dúvida disso. A maneira pela qual eu iria fazer com que o jiu-jitsu explodisse, eu não sabia quando cheguei aqui. Rapaz, essa casa aqui entendeu? Era no Rio de Janeiro, foi a Marquês de Abrantes, 107, onde começou esse jiu-jitsu dentro de casa, na família Gracie, entendeu? Aqui, pra mim, foi essa rua, essa casinha aqui. Tatame na garagem, a gente treinava sempre jiu-jitsu aqui, não sei o quê. Depois da garagem eu abri uma academiazinha na rua Carson Street, aqui perto. E o primeiro aluno que eu tive foi o Art Teve.
Well, you know, I read an article that was in the September 1989 issue of Playboy magazine. Now, this was when I was doing research on this basic idea that I had, which I was calling the world's best fighter. And I read this article titled B.A.D., Bad, by Pat Jordan. They talked about the tradition that the Gracie family had of being able to challenge other martial artists, including and especially Rorion Gracie. Rorion's father, Elio, had fought people in Brazil way back in the 1930s. So that was my first opportunity to discover Vale Tudo. And that was my introduction to the fact that there were a group of Brazilian martial artists living in Estados Unidos in North America who had brought their family's art. And I found out that he lived in Torrance, and I had just gotten a new job with a new advertising agency in Torrance, literally 2 or 3 blocks away from his school.
Às vezes o aluno dizia, olha, meu professor de Kung Fu não acredita no jiu-jitsu. Ele acha que eu estou perdendo meu tempo fazendo jiu-jitsu com você. Ele quer te desafiar para uma briga, você topa? Eu falava, claro, pode trazer o cara aqui. O arte dele vinha aquele negócio, como todos os alunos se juntavam para ver, não sei o quê, e é sempre aquela empolgação. Então, depois de centenas de desafios, foi aí que eu tive a ideia de criar um evento onde a gente pudesse comparar vários estilos de artes marciais. Porque sempre que tinha uma briga dessa na garagem ou na academia, juntava aquele monte de aluno que queria ver, todo mundo queria ver o pau comer.
Back in the 1960s and 1970s, there was a constant discussion about that among young guys. Who would win? A boxer or a martial artist? A wrestler or a karate champion? So this was always on my mind.
E a gente falando sobre a ideia de a gente tinha que arranjar uma maneira de fazer esse negócio virar um grande evento. Não podia ficar na garagem trancada. É muito excitante para o povo, é muito interessante, é muito ilustrativo, é muito informativo. Então essa vontade de mostrar a realidade foi que empolgou o Arte e a mim fazer um troço que fosse para a televisão. E a gente começou a matutar a ideia e foi crescendo, e a gente chegou à conclusão que tinha que fazer um troço para a televisão e aí o circo pegou fogo.
Man, you got some heavy hitters coming in.
It's going to be terrific. We got we're talking about UFC 1, and you and I have background in it. You were the ring announcer, and I watched last night. You did a great job.
Oh, thanks.
You did. No, you did a great job as the ring announcer, and it was a night no one quite knew what to expect.
Right.
Everything that happened.
Right.
You know, and this is November 12th.
1993.
1993 was when they had this. They didn't know if there was going to be a UFC 2.
Well, they didn't know if there was going to be a UFC 1 because first of all, no promoter around the country would take it in their city.
A fighting promoter, but
a fighting promoter.
Barry Fay took it.
Well, they took it here because there wasn't a boxing commission.
For Denver, Colorado, as they stated at that time, there was no boxing commission, and since there had not been a rule set made yet, they had to find a place without a boxing commission or without an athletic commission so that the event would be able to take place, because any place that had a boxing commission that's a governmental oversight would disallow the kinds of things that they were going to try.
We're live from the mile-high city of Denver, Colorado, where the weatherman is warning local residents to brace themselves for a huge snowstorm. But tonight, the big storm on everyone's mind is taking place indoors at the McNichols Sports Arena, the site of tonight's landmark martial arts event. 8 of the deadliest fighters in the world will meet in a no-holds-barred combat to determine who is the ultimate fighting champion. Be forewarned, there are no rules, no judges' scores, and no time limits.
A gente pensou, entendeu? Como é que ia ser criar um evento desse, entendeu? O que a gente podia fazer para fazer um troço diferente. Então tinha que ser, primeiro que não podia ter regra. Eu não queria que ninguém dissesse, não vou poder entrar nesse campeonato porque eu não posso dar o meu golpe mortal. Vem dar o golpe mortal que a gente vai querer conferir como é que é. O mundo quer ver o teu golpe mortal. Para acabar exatamente com essa ilusão de que o sujeito entra numa briga com um filme, que você vê uma cena de filme, que o cara entra numa sala e briga com 20 pessoas e destrói todo mundo. Isso é uma brincadeira. Então, a minha preocupação sempre foi buscar uma maneira de apresentar a briga da maneira mais real possível. Pode fazer o que você quiser. As únicas restrições eram enfiar o dedo no olho e morder. Porque, aliás, entre brigadores de verdade, existe um código de honra quase que entre guerreiros. Você não precisa ficar mordendo ninguém, entendeu? Quer dizer, dá para fazer isso.
So it was going to be a single elimination tournament. There'd be 8 fighters, and there'd be 7 bouts. So whoever won the event had to fight 3 times in one night. That was what was unique about it, because nobody had ever had the fighter fighting 3 times in one night. I was sending out faxes to martial arts organizations all over the world. And I was saying, if you've got a great fighter, you want to see your art represented, contact me. And we were running ads in Black Belt Magazine, Inside Karate, Inside Kung Fu Magazine, in the United States, North America. So I was getting a lot that way. And then I was calling up everybody I sent a fax to. Many times I would call, they would say, "Is this a movie? Are you looking for actors? Because I'm pretty good as an actor," he would say to me. I said, "No, this is a real fight. Is it like wrestling? Is it going to be prearranged? Is it like choreography, like ballet?" I said, "No, this is a real fight. It's the Ultimate Fighting Championship."
Ready?
Hello, ladies and gentlemen. You are about to see something that you have never seen before, the Ultimate Fighting Challenge. Hello, I'm Bill Wallace, and welcome
time
to the
flies,
People's
huh?
Arena
Look at this.
in fabulous Denver, Colorado.
I had recruited both Bill Wallace and Kathy Long to be our commentators. They had been having an argument in the martial arts magazines in the United States about whether or not it was a good idea for women to be professional kickboxers. Bill thought it was a bad idea.
Along with me also now is Kathy Long, 5-time world kickboxing champion. Kathy, what would be your strategy in here?
I tell you, I would rely on speed, my speed.
You're not very big now.
No, that's true. I mean, if I were to do this and if I were a guy much bigger.
Now, Kathy was known as the Queen of Mean. She was a great kickboxer. She was very good. Pretty girl who could punch and kick. But in all fairness, Bill Wallace, who was known as a Taekwondo expert, a black belt, and been known primarily for traditional martial arts, I think he had a harder time relating to the fact that this was something that had never been seen before. And that first bout, which we're going to be seeing, actually shocked everybody.
The fighters are entering the ring now.
I struggled very hard to get a sumo wrestler to be in this event. I wanted to see sumo and boxing, not just karate, not just judo.
We needed to get all the important names as we could to build the show in the beginning. There's Taylor Tully right there.
He says I gave him that name. His real name is Taylor Wiley, and when he asked me, "Art, can I throw somebody out of the Octagon?" I said, "Absolutely. Pick him up, throw him." Now, Gerard Gordo had been the world savate champion.
I know he worked as a bodyguard and was supposed to be a really mean, tough guy. And
he lived in Holland, and he had a great reputation in Asia for being a very tough Muay Thai fighter. Tall and rangy, 6'5", 216 pounds, tattoos, and you see him saluting all four corners of the Octagon, which is very traditional in savate in France.
Now, we're going to get right down to it. Remember, ladies and gentlemen, no holds barred. Anything goes. Just no eye gouges and no biting. Everything else is okay. We're getting ready. The referee is in the center. And they go. I think there'll be a lot of stalking just to see what happens. Endurance is going to play an important part of this. Kathy, what do you think? Let's go. Whoa.
I think we're just missing teeth there.
It emphasized to the referees that there was no referee stoppage like in boxing.
O João Alberto, que é grande profissional, fez vale tudo em nome da Academia Gracie, foi o professor da Academia Gracie, que eu trouxe do Brasil para cá para ser o juiz, por causa das qualidades dele. Ficou preocupado com o Taylor Tully.
And in 26 seconds, he stepped in, seeing that Taylor Wiley was really helpless at that point and had been injured. And he stepped, in effect, stopped the bout.
You know what? This I tell everybody. You know, the reason I got my job, the reason I'm still doing this today, is because of João Barreto.
Porque o árbitro, naquele dado momento, ele tem que ter bom senso, vamos dizer assim, quando se trata de um esporte de violência. Isso está muito misturado, vamos dizer assim, com a minha formação, Hélio Gracie. Diz assim, você montando, você não precisa quebrar a cara do adversário. A minha consciência é que aquilo é um princípio de proteção, entende, ao outro. Aquela luta podia ser uma luta sanguinária.
And you can see when he does it, you know, Rorion comes up to the cage and there's this conversation and you know, I know this much Portuguese, but at the time I'm hearing Rorion saying, "You can't stop it," right? And João is basically saying, he can't fight.
Ele ficou bravo, o Royce ficou chateado.
Eu, inicialmente, falava, não para, não, deixa o pau comer, o que vai acontecer? Faz parte da briga acontecer esse tipo de coisa.
Ele falou comigo, tal, compreendeu, mas eu não... Aquilo para mim era uma coisa que estava estruturado já na minha cabeça e não tinha outra forma de fazê-lo. E faria outras vezes.
Zhao was right. He couldn't fight. And because Zhao Barreto had compassion for another human being, he lost his job. And I got his job.
So Barreto, by stepping into that bout, had ended the raw savagery of the spectacle that the UFC 1 was positioned and sold as, and inadvertently created the modern sport of MMA. I think that's an interesting distinction.
And it was tough to watch. I was there with my...
Your wife?
Well, she was going to be my wife. She wasn't my wife.
Not only was it your first date, it was your last date.
When the sumo wrestler's face exploded, it splattered blood on my on my date's white pantsuit.
Oh no! You told your wife wore white to a fighting championship. That's the last. She obviously hadn't been to one before.
We immediately moved back after the very first fight.
Up to the last row.
UFC 1, it started here in Denver. We got participants coming up right after this. Stick around.
The thing that had always stopped mixed match bouts was when you got two martial arts together, they argued about two things. They argued about the rules, and they argued about the money. How much does he get? How much do I get? But the rules was the big thing. Can I wear gloves? Can I wear shin guards? Can I wear a gi? Do I wear a Speedo? Can I wear a boxing glove? All of that. Well, that night, Rorion starts to talk about the wraps, the hand wraps.
Eu insisti que não houvesse luva, por exemplo. Não podia ter luva. Porque essa ideia de você botar a luva, você não está protegendo a cara do adversário. Você está protegendo a sua mão. Com a luva na mão, você pode dar um soco numa parede de drywall e furar a parede. Mas você dá um soco sem luva na cara de alguém, você vai machucar a mão, porque a estrutura óssea do rosto de uma pessoa é muito mais forte do que os ossos frágeis que a gente tem na mão. Então, eu queria mostrar que negócio de dar murro na cara. Eu falei, então pronto, tira as luvas de todo mundo e vai dar murro na cara. Teve uma opção de gente de mão quebrada, de dedo quebrado por causa disso.
And then Zane Fraser, one of the smartest guys in the room, very articulate, he starts talking.
This was Thursday night, the night before the fight. Rorion changed the rules. And I opposed the rule change because I says, I have a T-shirt that says there are no rules.
There's a setup. It's for Rorion and his brother. He said, it's a problem. Why can't I wrap right up to here? They started arguing about a quarter an inch, half an inch.
Other fighters could care less, but I had a specific strategy that we wanted to use because we knew that fighters were going to break their hands. If they put me up against a kickboxer with a bare knuckles, I'm going to break my hand. So I had a specific way that I was wrapping my hands, not with wraps, but with tape, because it was in the rules that you can use tape. So I was making my fist tape, and I put the tape in water for 4 days, and I let it soak. Then I put it on the heater to make it hard. So now my knuckles were a cast.
The whole room degenerates into chaos. There's a picture of me. I'm sitting like this with my hand in I'm looking around. I'm scared. I'm thinking to myself, it's falling apart.
Got real heated between myself and the Gracies. So I said, if you're going to change the rules the night before, Rorion, we might as well start the UFC right now.
The man who saved me was Taylor Wiley. Stands up in the back of the room. He picks up the form and he slams it down on the table. He said, I've already signed it. I don't know about the rest of you, but I'll be there tomorrow night. Anybody wants to party? I'll see you tomorrow night. And even then, the Gracies started to clap, started to applaud. And that killed it. Even Zane Fraser looked around like he saw he was being outvoted because now everybody's cheering. And Taylor Wiley was a hero at that point.
This is where the original McNichols Arena was, right here.
Right over there?
Right over here? Yeah, right on the other side of this fence. And then they built the Pepsi Center in lower downtown, and then after the Pepsi Center was finished, they dozed McNichols Arena. That was a sad day, because, I mean, there were so many great events.
Wow. Hello and welcome back. Joining me on the show, okay, one of the trainers and promoters, guys who put it together, Clarence Thatch here, along with Zane Fraser, who fought in UFC 1. Everything changed since then. That changed the fighting world.
I agree. 100%.
That's a microphone. Have it be your friend. You get close to it. Just pull it. Just pull it to your face.
He doesn't like anything in his face, Gil. Otherwise, he's usually punching it away.
Kevin Rozier was up close and personal with his face.
Yeah, Kevin and I got real up close and personal. That was a great match between Kevin and I.
Kevin had answered an ad that I had placed in the martial arts magazines. Now, he was a multiple kickboxing champion. He had won titles for the several North American kickboxing federations. He was 6'4", about 250 pounds when he applied. And yet, when I picked him up at the airport, I said, Kevin, what do you weigh? Oh, he said, I weigh about 285. I said, your left leg weighs 285. When we actually put him on the scale, he weighed 3 1/4. Now, the fighter he's facing is the International Kickboxing Federation World Super Heavyweight Champion. He's 6'6". He weighs 235 pounds. He's got 19-inch biceps. He's got an 83-inch reach. The guy can kick and punch. A little nervous when I saw him earlier in the week because I could tell that the altitude was a factor for him. He supposedly had a problem with asthma.
And they started. Here we go.
Now we got some good footwork here.
Now there's a lot of strategy now.
Well, that's not unusual to have a fight just like that go to the beginning.
They know how to punch, you know, or thought they know how to punch. But once the fight goes to the ground, they don't know much what to do about that. So they can't capitalize on that part of it.
That was a clear point shot.
Look at him using knees, though. Now, Zane is now starting to score a bit. He's finding his stride. Look at this. He's throwing some knees to Kevin's midsection.
That's a strategy, pulling hair.
Yeah. That's something that wasn't talked about in the rules meeting.
No, but it should be legal. It should be allowed. It's part of the body.
I think it is. You see some of the hair falling down on the ground there. It's quite a bit coming out.
He let go of the hair now. Kevin is using a little bit of elbows. Now, if you look at their knuckles, they're getting a little red because they are hitting elbows. They are hitting bone.
That was a great uppercut.
The gloves, I mean, no gloves, it's just the hands, the knuckles exposed. I bet it changed a lot of things for them, too. Can't just throw punches, you know, randomly without considering that you might hurt your hands.
Jim, did you ever get this title?
I doubt it, because the combination of things that they're doing would make anyone really totally fatigued.
Well, now you see Kevin Rozier maybe figuring, I've taken enough punishment, this guy's out of gas. Look, he knows. And you see Frazier backing up? Look, Frazier doesn't want to fight. And look at Kevin. Kevin knows. This is what I'm waiting for. Boom, boom. Look at this. There's a, oh, nice hit. Oh, his Frazier now down on the ground, almost like a child.
You know, a lot of times in boxing, when you strike to the back of the head like that, it's totally illegal, but everything goes here.
I'm showing him pictures from the fight, dude. You didn't know how to get those. I'll show you how to find those.
Yeah, I need to find those pictures.
You were actually hitting Ken Rozier.
I was ready to hit Ken, yeah. Asthma, you know what's funny? If I didn't have an asthma attack and go into respiratory failure during that fight in that cage, which I was intubated when in the hospital because I almost died that night and people didn't know that. But had that fight go on, and that's what I was saying, is that Kevin Rozier, he would have been in a whole lot of trouble there. He would have been like Charles Barkley kind of, in trouble. He'd been in trouble. He would have been in trouble.
Have you ever talked to Kevin Rozier since then?
Well, you know, Kevin passed away last year.
Did he really?
Sadly passed away last year. And Kevin and I would see each other in different events because I was fighting it.
What's going through your mind after you got hit early on? What am I doing in retirement?
I remember having a conversation with Jorge and saying, well, do you think it would be appropriate for me to find someone like Hugo Duarte? Your brother Hickson had a bout with him on the beach in Ipanema. He said, you have no reason to talk to any other Brazilians. He said, when it comes to Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, the #1 family, numero uno, they're the Gracies. So I knew we were going to put a Gracie in. The question was, and I didn't know until almost August, who's going to represent Gracie's Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu? I didn't say Gracie Jiu-Jitsu.
O Rickson
como lutador campeão da família que era na época, naturalmente queria essa oportunidade de ficar ali de frente para o mundo, na tela do mundo inteiro, mostrar a eficiência dele. Mas o Rickson tinha saído da academia para cuidar dos negócios dele. Pela lealdade do Royce a mim, achei que por bem seria não só oportuno dar um reconhecimento ao Royce por ter escutado o que eu falei a vida inteira, mas como também o fato de que o Royce seja mais magro, seja mais convincente, como uma demonstração da eficiência do jiu-jitsu.
Eu vim morar nos Estados Unidos porque o meu irmão foi ao Brasil, o Horan foi ao Brasil, e a mulher dele, na época, viu que eu gostava das crianças, brincar com as crianças direito, ele precisava de uma babá. Ele me chamou.
I said, Royce, the younger brother, the baby? I said, he's 27, but I said he's really like a teenager. He only weighed 175 pounds. He's kind of skinny.
O Royce era uma criança, era um rapaz extremamente dócil, simpático, agradável. Ele veio para cá com 17 anos e que eu me lembre, não teve nunca briga de trocar soco com ninguém. Talvez na academia, com um cara que veio desafiar, um troço assim muito simples. Mas profissionalmente, claro, não fez nada disso.
Eu não me lembro se meu pai estava no momento, mas eu sei que o Rory me chamou no escritório dele e falou, cara, eu vou botar você. Eu falei, é a hora que eu estava esperando. Que nessa família tão grande, que todo mundo luta. Eu já pensando, o mais velho vai parar de lutar. Tem um mais novo já chegando atrás de mim, querendo lutar também, eu não vou ter minha vez.
Agora, ele tinha algumas competições de jiu-jitsu. E eu peguei, dei uma exageradazinha no currículo do Royce, mas eu botei que tinha 50 lutas, podia ter sido 10, 20, 30, a mesma coisa, mas contei luta que ele teve comigo, com todo mundo, botei 50, e parece que numa competição ele perdeu por pontos uma vez, eu botei 50 vitórias e uma derrota, só para poder encher linguiça e mostrar que o Royce tinha hora de voo para poder competir naquele evento.
Ladies and gentlemen, our third bout of the evening, please welcome your competitors. First, 26 years old, a jiu-jitsu master, he hails from Torrance, California, by way of Rio de Janeiro, Brazil. 6'1", 178 pounds. He is a Jitsu champion of Rio de Janeiro, the world light heavyweight champion, holding a 4th degree black belt with a record of 51-1. Please welcome, out of the red corner, Royce Gracie. And his opponent from the world of professional boxing, he's 5'11" and 195 pounds, hailing from St. Louis, Missouri. His home and a professional record of 29-5, 20 by knockout, the IBF North American Cruiserweight Boxing Champion, fighting out of the blue corner, King Arthur Jimerson.
Jimerson has one glove. I was stunned. He's decided that he's going to keep the glove on his left. That's his big left hook. But he wants, based upon what he'd heard about Gracie Jiu-Jitsu, he wants to be able to grab and hold on to Royce.
Now look, I'm the third fighter tonight, right? I'm the third fight. Now, true story. That's first of 2 fights. I'm in the back getting ready. My manager comes back. He goes, all right, let's go. Let's go. He goes, yeah, this is Superberg. He's crying. He goes, we know you got a family, all right? You know this thing can ruin your career. Let's leave. So I'm thinking, I'm fighting Royce. I'm fighting this small guy in the tournament, right? I'm gonna kill Royce. I'm like, it's unfair. Boxing to me is #1 sport. So it's like a guy kicking at you and a guy wrestling you. How can he be the boxer?
Art Jimerson. How you doing, sir?
Oh boy.
Hope you didn't bring one glove.
I did. Physically, I was like, man, I'm gonna kill this guy. I'm gonna kill this guy, So here I am, I'm ready to go. Like I said, the whole thing was trying to figure out a fight plan against, again, never been in this position before. What can I expect? You hear things, but until you actually, until it actually happens, you don't know,
Yes, good. And if the man grabs him, that just gives Royce an anchor.
And my first decision was to go toward him, make him go backwards. And I had him going right here. I thought I had him right here. I figured if he give me something, I can capitalize on it, but he didn't do anything yet. So I'm coming toward him, I got him going backwards. Right there, I should have rushed him, right there. I didn't know better. So I saw the foot come up halfway. I'm thinking, all right, there you go, right there. That threw me all the way off right there. That's the whole fight right there. The kick to my leg, I'm thinking, then I got him going back a little bit more. And I'm trying to paw at him with the jab, trying to show him something. There you go, couple moves.
Fast hands.
And he kept teasing me with the little flick.
With the kick, yeah.
Yeah, he kept teasing me. He wouldn't actually throw it, but he kept teasing me like, then there you go right there. That's when I threw him up right there. I was like, oh man, I think he hit this.
Then you didn't commit yourself, so I was like, okay, I gotta start to slowly inch myself in.
Perfect execution.
Start to move like you said,
Yeah, so
from side to side, yep.
But you couldn't kick. I know one thing about you couldn't kick and not move at the same time.
Getting
so
close enough.
Yeah. So right there, bam.
Kick.
Yeah.
Throw that fake kick and shot him.
This is the part where I thought somebody was holding my leg. Somebody's cheating, man. Who's got my leg? Who knew this? Who knew this? You know what I'm saying? I mean, I figure he only weighs what, a buck 75. So I'm trying to throw you over. I'm gonna try to twist and throw you over, but you didn't ball.
You got the hooks on you, like
I'm gonna turn a little bit. I'm trying to protect my neck also, because I'm holding on to you. And I just felt so, like a phobia came over me. I'm like, oh man, because in a fight I gotta breathe.
I got very heavy suddenly.
Yes. I mean, I'm trying to turn over. I'm trying to turn you over, but you didn't ball. I'm like, man, oh my goodness. So at this point, I had a phobia. It was to the point where I was like, just felt smothered. And I'm thinking, right, he can't carry me around all the ring. So this is where you capitalize on me. I mean, you did it great. You headbutted me a couple times too, you know that? I remember you headbutted me a couple times, you remember that?
No, I wouldn't listen.
Yeah, you headbutted me.
I did not do that.
Then you hit me with the palm of your hand.
Perhaps he might think about taking that thing off right now.
Take a break and take it off. Well, he just bowed out.
I was unsure because I didn't have a choke or anything. I was like, ref, did he tap? Because I don't have a choke.
I was so upset because, like I said, I just was smothered, man. I couldn't do it, man.
I don't think Art was hurt at all. I think he was just frustrated.
You can't breathe. You can't breathe in there. You can't move.
It's a primal instinct.
There was not a punch thrown.
That's right. That's exactly
not
correct.
a punch thrown.
Well, thanks for not hitting me.
He told me that in the ring. He said, thanks for not hitting me. I was like, huh? I just wanted to I couldn't get one punch off, man. You know, but again, I love Gracie Jiu-Jitsu. Awesome, man. Seriously. You guys, I mean, I cannot believe that
that
sport.
shooting in, man. It's just like fake the kick. When you brought the jab up, I was under.
I just felt so embarrassed, man. Because I hadn't lost in 3 years. I mean, I had won number 7 in the world as a boxer, and like I said, now 30 years later, I found out you're a babysitter. I'm like, no, I'm really mad. I'm really mad. You a babysitter?
I was babysitting my brother's
no
kids,
way.
man.
You never fought before?
No.
Royce, come on,
that was my first professional fight.
Punch me. Wake me up. Here, pinch me, all right? This gotta be a dream. I can't believe this.
That was my first professional fight, man.
And I've been fighting for all these years, and I fought 5 world champions. You walk in the ring and just do that to me.
Yep. That's the beauty of jiu-jitsu.
You ain't lying. You ain't lying about that. Amen to that. Wow.
Well, they said he was the babysitter of the family. He was the babysitter, but also trained.
Yeah, but you got to remember that family. They had 75 years.
You got to remember that stuff goes back to jiu. And this is what I like to call it. It wasn't Gracie Jiu-Jitsu by itself. I call it combat Gracie Jiu-Jitsu.
It was like Shaolin Temple stuff.
No, it was even further than that. We haven't seen a Shaolin Temple monk yet.
Clarence Thatcher, who
he's legend,
has trained. You fought, but you've trained a lot of fighters. You still train, right?
I'm still training.
What was your involvement in UFC 1?
Well, I had a business partner, Marsha Buddy, and she helped organize it. She also was responsible for helping me get fighters in the UFC, like Frank and Ken Shamrock and Pat Smith and a couple other guys. And
Pat lived here locally.
Yeah, Pat was a local guy.
From Denver, Colorado. 6'2".
Now, Pat Smith, it took him a while for Rich Goins to announce everything about Pat Smith because he had a very long train when he came in. Rich had to announce the fact that he was 250-0 in karate championship bouts. And I actually would let that number be used because I couldn't prove whether he was or wasn't. And I figured the Octagon was the crucible. If you were any good, you were going to be able to prove it by fighting. So I let them say, all right, he's 250-0.
Ken Wayne Shamrock.
Look at Shamrock. He looks like Mr. America. He had muscles on muscles, good-looking guy, handsome, and he had a movie star name, Ken Wayne Shamrock. How could you not like him?
So too. Both fighters are enough to pretty dry. They haven't warmed up very much.
The shoot fighter's very familiar with the ground contact, ground grappling. And there's a nice clinch right there, and that's probably exactly where he wants him to be. That's interesting. Now you see what would be a classic Gracie guard position with the legs wrapped around the fighter. That is actually a very good defensive position.
And Pat, not being familiar with ground fighting, wants to make sure that he's protecting himself by staying as close as he can.
Anything else, your primary objective starts to become to get rid of that foot.
That has to be pretty stressful on Ken's neck, the way Pat's holding his head.
Right, yes.
Yeah, Ken is definitely more familiar with the grappling aspect of the fight. Can take his time and get ready for what he wants, which is position himself for a submission.
Very much right there. Yeah, you want to hold it a little bit. He's trying to hold it as close as he can. Still hard to change it. There goes a.
But they're not trying any really arm bars or chokes or anything. I think
Well, he's catching Pat going for a footlock here. Pat doesn't quite know exactly what to do with his feet. He doesn't have the angle to hurt Ken anymore, so he's trying to kick, but Ken can avoid the strikes and just isolate one foot and then squeeze for the footlock. Pat has no idea what's happening at this point.
And Smith had been saying in radio announcements, pain doesn't bother me. You can't hurt me. I'll work through pain. Nobody's going to stop me. Nobody's going to hurt me in this bout. But here he's now got in a situation where his ankle is being twisted in such a way that he could lose the tendons, and it's painful. See, now he's tapping out. Now he's tapping out. He realizes he can't get out and he's in pain. In fact, you're going to see him have a great deal of difficulty in standing up because he really hurt that ankle. He's in pain. Never got a clear shot at Ken, never got a kick. Ken closed the distance right away, took him right to the ground. It was over, that quick. This is a night where the grapplers were showing that in a mixed match between a striker and a grappler, 8 or 9 times out of 10, the grappler's gonna win. Look at Pat tapping out. The man who was impervious to pain is now saying, I've had enough.
Pat, of course, didn't like the idea because he's not expecting somebody to catch him in a footlock. He think he was going to have a fist fight, and he wasn't happy about the result at all.
Did you see it going this far?
Still, you know, Zane Bresloff, and I think I told you guys this, Zane Bresloff said this is going to be the biggest sport in the world.
I remember him saying that, and very
It was the energy. There was an energy around McNichols, around the can, like no other. I mean, you felt like this was something big, and it was about to explode. Like this was going to be a bomb that left an after effect for years. After seeing it and walking and leaving and just hearing people talking about it and saying, man, this is going to be big someday.
If you look at, UFC 1, what can you take from it now? Take from what occurred then and bring to it now? The Octagon.
The Octagon was one of the most important things that we did because early on, I said to Rorion, we need to tell the TV people some of the basics that we want to have adhered to, like certain guidelines. And Rorion said, no boxing ring. He said, in Brazil, my family in Vale Tudo has experience with boxing rings. Never works.
Eu especificamente não queria um ringue de boxe, porque a gente sabe, quando está brigando com alguém dentro do ringue de boxe, as cordas permitem que o lutador pule fora do negócio. Eu mesmo já tive briga com o Sheik, campeão de kickboxing aqui, e quando o cara começou a apanhar, ele quis fugir do ringue. Entendeu? Eu falei, isso não pode acontecer de jeito nenhum, a gente tem que ter uma maneira de cercar o cara. Então o John Milius, diretor de cinema renomado aqui nos Estados Unidos, escritor e tal, aluno meu na época, falou, Rora, a gente tem que arranjar um troço pro cara não poder fugir. E eu me lembro que várias vezes a gente acabava de treinar aqui, ficava sentado no ringue, desenhando como é que ia ser, entendeu? O negócio, de um jeito ou de outro e tal.
An electrified circle with a copper ring that if you stepped on it, you'd get a shock. And then a student at the Gracie Academy who was a doctor, who was a cardiologist, said, if a man falls on that and he's sweating, he can get ventricular fibrillation. You could stop his heart. He said, you don't want to do that.
Tanque. E botar jacaré.
And we'll put, sharks or piranha.
Se o cara quisesse fugir, o jacaré...
And that wasn't a good idea. What would we have had to travel with fish and with water?
Trazer um tipo de uma rede que vinha de cima para baixo para cobrir o ringue, para o cara não poder fugir, que nem aquele Thunderdome, aquele filme do Mel Gibson.
I even had an idea to do it as a plexiglass bowl. And then the camera people from Semaphore, their producer, Michael Pilat, said to me, you have any idea the light problems we'll have with plexiglass?
E no final, a gente acabou fazendo essa tela que tem uma coberturazinha de plástico para ninguém se arranhar, mas ficou essa tela em volta que ficou perfeito, maravilhosamente bem original e criativa, porque o cara vai entrar ali dentro, ele não tem como fugir E eu não queria que fosse um ringue quadrado para que o cara não ficasse preso no canto e prejudicasse o lutador. Mas ela sendo assim meio octagonal, você não tem problema, porque não tem um canto nunca para ele ficar preso ali dentro e tal.
So that's how the Octagon got built. And it became the biggest thing for the press because it was a cage. It wasn't a boxing ring. They were doing cage fighting. Oh my God. Someone could die.
You hear this whole thing about, oh, it's cage fighting. They're putting humans in a cage. It was one of the smartest things they did because it is a safe environment for the fighters to compete in. It keeps them enclosed in an area. They can't fall out of it.
I mean, outside of time, it's like some brutal. I'm seeing a cage and it's like some ancient, some like back in the Roman days.
I loved it. You can't escape. You can't get away. You can't slip through the ropes. You can't use the ropes to launch off of strikes or get away from strikes. I liked it.
And so the one thing, if you're going to say, what's the one thing from UFC 1, I would say you take that octagon, that cage, that has been the one thing that has stayed that is absolutely the best thing that you could say. From UFC 1, what's the best thing? The fact that they kept that cage, it's been great.
Let's look at the chart now and see who's going to be in the semifinal bout. Here we have Gerard Gordo against Kevin Rozier. Now, they've both seen what happens out here. They both were out here, they were both winners.
Look at Gordeau's hand, how swollen it is. In this shot, the camera catches that knuckle, and I got to tell you, that hand was not really effective for him at that point. It was in great pain. But here's Kevin thinking, I'm going to give it my best shot, and be honest with you, he can't let Gardeaux do what he let Zane Fraser do and punch him a lot, because Gardeaux can really hit. Gardeaux can really hit and kick. He's a surgeon. So look at these two men as the referee brings them together, because now you're going to see what the audience has been waiting for all night.
And here we go.
It's a nice handshake before they started it. That was very nice. You see Gerard's picking up his shots
now,
there.
Here's the leg kicks. Here comes the leg kicks into play. Now, Rod, you'll kind of understand about the leg kicks.
Yes, that's just amazing. Very stingy, very, very powerful.
Gardeaux is much more of an animal here, and taking advantage of more precise strikes, and already hurting Kevin's legs with his kicks and brought him down, and now he's just completing the action heels.
Now he's got him up against the fence, and poor Kevin. Oh, but look at Kevin, he's still ready to get up and take more punishment. Gardeaux doesn't even let him get up. Gardeaux's got him up against the fence, thinking, ooh. Kevin fell all the way down and got back up again halfway. He does not even get up, though. And he's afraid if he gets up, look at every time he gets up, oh! Now he's being stomped by Gardeaux. Oh, it's brutal. And you got him right in the ribs. You can see that Kevin, look, that was painful. Poor Kevin.
I wouldn't be surprised if those ribs were broken there. It's a pretty good stomp.
Right to the ribs.
I could feel the concussion all the way from here.
The thing about it, you got to realize about fighters is that no matter what types of cuts and things they get, they really don't want to do much about it. You look at them, if they have a tiny cut or they're sore, or their nose is bleeding, they don't stop to get treated. In the first fight, when Gerard fought the sumo wrestler, the guy was a 450-pound, he hit the man in the face very rapidly with his foot. And the announcers in the ring said, oh, yeah, we think we saw the tooth fly and all of this type of stuff. And then he had also, when he came down with that hit to the head and stuff, had injured his hand. So the attending that was in the ring there had taken him back and taped his hand up. We took him into the hospital, and the biggest concern at that time was the foot. So we got the foot prepared and looked inside, and the tooth was there. It was the tooth from the fight. And we got the tooth out and cleaned it up. And as most people know, when you get a tooth into the skin or a bite or stuff, you have a greater chance for infection. He was put on a lot of antibiotics and stuff, but still got an infection when he went back to the Netherlands. So it was a rough night, for Gerard. We went after the last fight. He fought with that in there. Yes, that was in there the whole time, and the hand was swollen at that time.
Now we've got a great bout coming up. A man who weighs 215 pounds up against somebody who weighs 175. It's a light heavyweight in boxing terms up against the heavyweight. And Shamrock, figuring that he's just put away Pat Smith, no problem. You can see, look at him as he's coming into the octagon. He's all power and energy, all confidence, all bravado. He looks like a winner, good-looking guy, handsome facially. And he's figuring that this is a kid in karate pajamas.
I'm sure he thought of Royce, physically being, totally insignificant, which he kind of was. You look at Royce, you feel sorry for him. And wearing the little gi, like a little angel in there. And Ken with that big body of his, the well-built, muscle-bound kind of guy. Look at that. Yeah, I'm here. And the mean face. And Royce is over there just hanging the gi on his shoulders and ready to make it happen too.
Ready to start, ladies and gentlemen. I think this will be a very exciting bout.
There they go. Look at that. Is it every cover? Right for the takedown.
Big jump right away.
Royce is up. And now he's trying to put the person...
Shamrock here, he tries to go for the same leg move he did with Pat Smith. Except that Royce knows better. And when Ken sits back, Royce goes with him and finds himself in the top position, which is the plan. A few strikes on the face would distract Ken from accomplishing what he wants. Royce has a sense of level of comfort with grappling that Ken, of course, did not expect him to have.
I think Ken is trying to do is keep poise at
Watch that leg. Ken's going for that leg again. Same thing he did with his previous opponent.
See if he can get up and go from underneath Royce. But on the process of doing that, he exposed his neck, and Royce gets him on a chokehold right here. So he taps out. And then Ken grabs Royce's leg again. And Royce tells the referee, listen, he already tapped out, which the referee saw that. So, hey, you already tapped out. Come on, man. And the guy said, oh, okay, I did tap out.
And you see the difference with this choke. Here's the thing with this choke. When guys get a rear naked choke, they go, watch how Ken chats right here. Ken choked in a way that it was a panic. See that? It's a panic. Because what happens is that there's a way to choke and there's a way to choke. Let me borrow Amy for a second. Amy, come choke me. Okay, yeah. RNC. So she chokes me, squeeze. Now, I want you to grab me and go like that. It's a choke, different choke, you see that? That's a panic choke. So when you see Ken jumping head, that's a panic. That means I'm going to die here pretty soon.
So neat to watch the evolution of the sport, because so many people, especially sitting here at this table, we've been there since day one. And so like, oh, this is an armbar, this is a rear naked choke. And then all of a sudden you see a guy literally doing a cartwheel in order to pass guard and land in back mount. And so we just get to watch not only how the athletes are progressing in training, but how people are being more innovative in their techniques.
Because you're truly getting mixed martial arts, you're getting techniques from all different disciplines, and people are just so much further ahead than they were back then, I think, in a lot of perspectives. In some ways, I think it was still realer back then. There was still, people were fighting to survive in that cage.
O Gerard Gordo, eu já sabia que era um cara mau. Tu vê que ele é um cara frio, um cara tranquilo também na luta. Não era um cara afobado, um cara frio, tranquilo, certeiro.
Ladies and gentlemen, we have the final match for the Ultimate Fighting Champion.
So here's Royce now. Again, you can see Royce has not taken a lot of punishment in this fight. There's no blood on his gi. He's not hurt in any way. He's facing a man, though, who is literally 12 years older, 6 inches taller, and 40 pounds heavier, but he's injured.
Eu já olhei pro pé dele, já notei o pé dele estava inchado, a mão dele estava inchada. Mas isso não quer dizer que eu vou ignorar o soco dele ou o chute dele. Eu já notei que não estava bom, já está quebrado ali já.
There was a great deal of respect for these two men, but there was also a certain amount of animosity too, because Gardeaux was a tough guy who wasn't afraid to break the rules a little bit, and there weren't hardly any rules other than no biting and eye gouging. And now, you see, that was nice. There was a gesture of respect between both men. They touched hands.
Eu não apertei a mão dele, eu só dei um tapa na mão dele. Não queria pegar a vibração dele, então eu dei só toquei na mão dele e larguei.
Notice how he got out of that real fast.
Yeah, I noticed that, Bill. It's good stalking going on here, measuring each other up.
Again, the strategy is to stay out of reach from the punches and kicks until you have a chance to close the gap like that.
Exactly what I expected Royce going in for the leg grab.
And Gardeaux is struggling, stronger and bigger than he is, to be able to avoid being taken down. Gardeaux knows he doesn't want to be on the ground.
Ele manteve uma base boa, empurrei ele contra a grade. Nesse momento aqui eu tentei dar umas cabeçadas nele de baixo para cima.
He's doing everything possible to make sure that Royce doesn't take him to that ground.
Fiquei agarrado nele. Depois que entrar em clinch, cara, não solta mais. Não soltava mais, ele ficou agarrado nele, empurrando contra a grade. Ele fazendo uma força, cara, querendo se manter em pé. Não deixava eu dobrar ele.
Oh, look at this.
Take it down. Here, stay mounted. Of course, Gerard Gordo has no idea what's coming. Royce's main concern is to stay on top of him. That's it, just stay here. The idea in Jiu-Jitsu is not to fight to beat up the other guy. You fight for a good position.
E a ordem do meu pai era não bate nos teus adversários. Foi quando ele mordeu minha orelha, eu falei, suspirei no ouvido dele, cara, tu tava roubando, cara. Ele me deu uma olhada por um segundo naquele jeito, e daí? E meu pai tinha falado, pô, não bate nos teus adversários, se bater, bate de mão aberta.
You see Royce throwing a couple of headbutts. See, the referee's in the way. The Royce throwing a couple of headbutts. What Royce wants him to do is get his head up so he can slip the arm underneath and to be able to put the arm behind, be able to catch him in a choke. See him go go for the full choke.
This is a major part of fighting. People do not understand that this is very strong.
He's got a great choke. It's over.
Quando ele quis roubar, a única coisa que não valia era morder. Quando ele mordeu, não soltei também, segurei um pouquinho extra. Aí eu falo, reclamando com o corner dele. O cara tá roubando, rapaz. O cara roubou, mordeu minha orelha. Tava chateado ainda por causa disso. Falei, pô, tá roubando? Ele falou, não sabia.
But he said, well, nobody was seeing, nobody could see that. I said, I don't care.
Ele foi querer sair, eu segurei a mão dele e puxei ele de volta.
This was an incredible demonstration of Gracie Jiu-Jitsu in front of an audience now seen by 90,000 people in North America. Royce has not been seriously injured in any way in this event tonight. He's emerged unscathed, unbowed, and a champion.
Very quickly, I became a Royce Gracie fan after that, and I wanted to know what Gracie Jiu-Jitsu was all about.
Foi um momento extremamente empolgante para todo mundo, o Royce ir lá ganhar, quer dizer, o papai ali do lado, que foi uma oportunidade que eu tive de realmente coroar todo esse trabalho que ele teve, quer dizer, a homenagem que eu fiz dentro do ringue para ele ali naquele dia, dar a placa, aquele troço todo, para mim não tem preço.
In my personal opinion, I think that the Gracie family had a very brilliant marketing ploy in that it created something that nobody was used to, nobody was familiar with, and they would be highlighted in it because they're so good at it. It was very smart on their part.
This is why I kind of resigned the fact that I'm glad Royce won, because it wasn't the win. The win from it is not the championship or the money. The win is the knowledge that he was able to pass on through the world. We were all ignorant. We were all blind.
In many ways, the most significant date in the last 2,500 years in the martial arts is November 12th. Because on November 12th, 1993, UFC 1 changed forever the perception of what could really work in the martial arts. The Octagon was a crucible. It was a place where the wheat could be separated from the chaff, where the sheep could be separated from the goats, where the real fighters could be separated from the posers, the wannabes.
Você quer que eu seja politicamente correto? São todos heróis. Só teve um campeão.
Historic date for the Gracie Academy, for me, for the Gracie family, for the martial arts world, and for all of you guys who are watching the show.
Naquela noite, o room service já estava fechado, eu fui numa lojinha do lado para comprar uns biscoitos, um Ritz Cracker. Eu botei para dentro do casaco, tava voltando pro hotel, aí tava o Kevin Rozier. Aí eu entrei pelo hotel, ele e o manager, cara, o que você tava fazendo? Tava começando a nevar, então parecia que eu tava suado. Eu passei por ele pelo elevador e falei, cara, eu tava cansado, fui dar uma corrida. Ele falou, não é à toa que tu é o campeão. Cara, não acredito, tu não tá, foi só pra correr? Eu falei, fui. Ele não viu o biscoito do negócio dentro do casaco. Entrei pro hotel, subi morrendo de rio, cara. Até hoje penso que eu sou um super-homem.
We had a secret meeting, me, Art Dave, and Horian. And they said, look, Art, we want to offer you a percentage of the UFC, or take 20,000. My manager literally told me, Art, look, take the money and run, because right now, this UFC thing gonna last for 3 years, it's gonna die out. Who's gonna watch this two barbaric? Being there, I was like, you know what? All right, so I agreed to take the money, because right now, if I took 1% of the UFC, I'm being paid millions of dollars a year right now.